Hey Samir, good morning.
Hey, sorry, Rakesh. I was not sure if I was muted or not. I had to find the app because the app gets lost behind the other screens. Let me add an agenda item. I got a ping from David. I wasn't able to look at it earlier. Um, June 23rd. Okay. I'm giving one more minute, David, for others to join as well. Let's see. I know Milind won't be able to join today from our side. Let's see. He pinged me on Slack. I think today's agenda, I think, David, we can just keep it focused on the open tasks list and see if there's anything remaining there. Rakesh and Pritish, I think your help may be needed. If it does, I can ping you offline or online if you want to stay on the call for any update on an action item David and I may be unfamiliar with. But I think I have the context for almost all of them. So feel free to listen in or drop off. But today's meetings are mainly project-centric meetings. I don't see any other item in the agenda. So that's why I'm saying.
All right, I will drop Samir, ping me on Slack if there are any questions.
Okay, that sounds fair.
Thank you.
Same here. I will also drop.
Okay, that's fine, Pritish. Yeah, Thursday's meetings are more project-centric, and unless there is a specific item you want to discuss from a PR perspective, but I think those are going well from all the chatter happening.
Mm-hmm.
David, I think we can start. I don't know if Steve's joining or not, but I would have loved if he's here, but if he's not here, I think we can still start. What do you think?
Steve is not going to make it today.
Oh, he won't? Okay, that's fine then.
Still sailing.
Still sailing. Is he lost at sea? Do we need to send a rescue mission?
No, that's race week.
Oh, it's race week. Okay.
So they were out racing. So I think they're done today, but I think he's recharging because he was crewing.
Got it. That makes sense. Sorry, David, I didn't get back to you earlier. I only looked at it this morning. But yeah, what we can do is we can do a quick roadmap review of items in Alpha 3 and the RC1 as per the roadmap repo. And I believe all the items there are being tracked in our combined spreadsheet. And yeah, let's go one by one on that one. Let me share my screen. Let me know once you see my screen.
Yeah, we can see your screen now.
Oh, great. So I think I'm looking at the static roadmap, which I think we intentionally made it static on purpose so that we make changes on it in a more deliberate manner. So Alpha 2 was released. If you look at Alpha 3 milestones, I believe all the Alpha 3 milestones are in progress on the spreadsheet at the moment, but we can walk them down quickly. Verification plugin interface API spec. Yeah, this is the item that is open with Milind. I checked with him. Where is he? I think he's close, he was telling me, but he's not ready to bring a PR to us. So that's the update on that one. And actually, let me open the spreadsheet on the side as well. And compare it to the spreadsheet as we go along, David. Is that a fine way to approach it?
Yep. I mean, the RC1, there's only a number of items, but there are some there that don't match. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we can do that. Yeah. As we discussed, right, the Alpha 3 and RC1 items in the static roadmap are the ones we are going to be tracking together. And whether we do a Alpha 3 even or just go to RC1, but from a tracking perspective, for RC1 completion, we need to complete the Alpha 3 roadmap items and the RC1 items in the static roadmap. Okay, so this was the verification plugin. This is the first item over here. This is the one that I think Milind is working on. I asked him to, give me a date when he will be able to bring something to this team, and he said 6/27 is the date he should be able to bring something to this team based on where he is at. So we put a start date on this one yesterday, or I put a start date on this one yesterday. Okay, and then this is the signing plugin integration local on disk. This is the open item. I think this is the item, Roy, you helped us chase down.
Yes.
That's where we are. We don't have a good solution forward. And I think I hear the recommendation from Feynman that we need something working there, but coming from the security mindset, some of us are thinking it's not, we should not release anything which somebody can accidentally or unknowingly use in production. And we just can't control customer or users' behavior. If we put something out there, people may gravitate to the path of least friction. So there.
So it does raise an interesting question that came up, which is, in a case of SigStore adopting Cozy, or just signing using whatever tool we put out there, does it need to be Notary that has to locally sign? Right? Will this area be handled by other open source tools? It's an interesting question.
Interesting. Interesting. Well, so let's agree on the definition of locally signed. We mean signing with keys stored locally on the machine where Notary or where notation is running. That's what we mean by locally signed, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I'm missing the context that how can we, you're saying a third tool, like not notation, not SigStore, some other third tool? Is that what you're saying?
Well, if the industry gets into signing, as a generic set of tools for signing with Cozy, does it need to come from the Notary under the Notary banner, or will we just say, hey, you can use whatever you tool, and we're not putting that into the Notary CLI? It's an interesting question.
Yeah, I see what you're saying, but I'm just trying to clarify. You mean that signing with Cozy using the same signature format as Notary V2 is defining, or
yeah,
it could be
exactly. Okay,
got it. Well, if it is the same signature format as Notary V2 is defining, I think it begs the question why and we insist it should be the same standard. Then it begs the question why separate it out into a separate client, because we are guiding the other whoever or whatever that client is to follow our signature format. Then it begs the question, why is it outside of our control, or not our control means where maintainers can affect its usage. Is what I'm
I understand, but the counter to that is if we use the same signing format for secure supply chain, Notary, and all the container managers, doesn't really matter. It's,
yeah.
I think it's worth the question of whether we will ever need to build this functionality.
Fair enough. So I think what you're saying is that yes, if I bring it back to this discussion, should we ship RC1 with this support or not? You're saying that we could possibly punt this to a future RC2 release discussion then.
Yep.
Well,
exactly.
yeah. So Yes, and part of the reason is that as Yi calls out, is that there's not a supported Go library, and we also have a timeline we're trying to hit. And if we know that the production target for us is to have a remote, encryption mechanism for like for us it's Azure Key Vault. It's not critical in my opinion for RC1, and if we're worried about the security implications, we could just put some kind of verbiage in the CLI to say, hey, this is the not a local encryption, but it's for demo testing purposes, kind of thing.
I think that's where we have a disconnect, and I will try to drive consensus between Milind and me and some of the other security bar raisers we are talking to internally to have an answer by Monday. But I think my general preference is not even include this capability at all, versus what you are saying is included, but put warnings around it. My preference right now is not even include it for RC1. But let me drive consensus internally. I have not been able to do that to listen to all the voices in the room. So,
well, interesting enough that if we wrote it in any other language and used the Windows operating system, this would be pretty easy with the CAPI layers. The question is trying to get it platform agnostic. And that's where the rub comes. We'd have to invest in some libraries to stitch this for Go. We could undo this and say, hey, if you want to sign locally, we give them another tool based on Open TLS that does the same sort of capabilities. Like, we don't have to necessarily restrict ourselves to Go if we wanted to open it up to additional tooling in the short term. You follow what I'm saying?
yeah, is missing existing libraries that are approved for use.
So to my way of thinking, you got the following options. One is we cut it for RC1. Two, we go and put the time in to get the Go libraries up to snuff of what we need. Three, we offer it as a standalone tool written in some other language that we already have pre-existing libraries for. Or four, we just say, hey, we adopt somebody else's signing tool that produces the format we expect.
And we are still talking about the local signing here, right?
Yeah. This is only about local signing.
So I like what you're saying, Roy. I think you have 4 options laid out that I could not capture here very quickly. May I suggest that you do a PR on it? Like, is it possible so that we can use that to drive consensus versus talking verbally about it?
You could just put it on the
Yeah.
Apply to the issue that's up there, issue 31 on the roadmap. You already applied.
Issue number 44?
31.
Oh, 31.
Roadmap
okay.
Issue 31.
Okay.
Send me the link to that.
Yep.
David. And so
okay. Yep.
David, are you doing it?
Yeah, I will. Yeah.
Okay. I like what you're saying, Roy, and I think, David, you see where I have a disconnect between what you were saying earlier to what my current point of thinking is. But again, I don't want one voice or the other. You want to have the collective voice here. So
the interesting intersection with this is we're getting asked, why can't we use SigStore? And SigStore goes and adopts Cozy, and I go, well, we haven't adopted Cozy for Notary yet, so that would be yet another thing to open up in the discussion on. And I'm going, shit, let's see if we can punt this for the time being.
Yeah. I think by Monday I should be able to drive consensus if we should punt it. Yeah. And my punting is don't include it, and your punting right now, David, is included but put warning. So how about you think about where my head is at the moment, and I'll think about where your head is at the moment, and then
I think the big thing is I don't want us to keep slipping.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of work to do. And I don't think this is like a
agree with that.
A critical thing we have to enable for RC1.
Agree with that too. Yes, agree with that. I think we're just debating at what to include or not include in RC1. We agree this is not a must-have for RC1. Okay, sounds good. Then I think quickly working through all of these, signing plugin interface, API spec, all of these is in motion, payload format, signature manifest format. These are all the Some of that is implementation, some of that is spec, all of that is in work in progress at the moment. So I see nothing here, and I'm eyeballing all the data here. The implementation, signing, spec. This is related to spec for signing key, which we just discussed here. Nothing here tells me we are out of line with what's here and what's included in the Notary project. Was there something specific you saw you want to jump to, David? Or I can look up RC1 as well to see what's in RC1. Let's look at RC1.
Yeah, there's RC1. There is something you have listed, the tags, type digest translation.
Yeah, I
signing
think
and verification.
correct.
That one's still listed as RC1, and I thought we are pushing that back.
Yeah, we were, but I think last time when we were talking about it, you had said, let's get Steve's opinion on that one. And I probably had pinged Steve on it, and we had some discussions about it. And Steve's point was, it's already included in it. So we did say that. Steve came back on this one, but I guess since then, we have not been able, yeah.
So I think it's the dash force flag. What,
right.
like his comment was, why do we need the slash force check flag?
Right, let's see.
Because we already have notation signed with the registry with the tag, sign the digest. So
yeah, so there were two voices here, and I'm representing Milind. He's not in the meeting, but I'm representing his thoughts that we were discussing live on that call. And I can ask Milind to give his thoughts on it as well. In a second, I'll add it. But his point was, again, if there is a possibility of somebody misusing it or not using it as intended, not realizing that there is a small window of time or opportunity for somebody looking at it maliciously, then not even offer the force flag. So his point was just take it out completely, because it requires a level of threat modeling that users will have to think about if we leave this option in there, whether with force or without force. That is what Milind's point was.
yeah, there is no force today, right? So
correct, there is no force today. So Steve's offer was, let's add a force and be done with it. And I think Milind's pushback was, it's not about adding a force or not, or doing it without a force. We should not do it at all, was his point.
So then just close this item out.
No, we will have to remove this capability from the final release candidate if we decide to not do this. I think what Steve is saying is, let's do this. Let's support it in the notation client. I think what I heard from Milind, and I'm paraphrasing him, let's not do it. Let's not do it because there could be security implications.
Make it so that you can't do a notation sign registry with the image tag, which already works.
Correct. Yeah, I think that's what Milind's proposal was when they were discussing it last time. Both of them are not here to represent themselves, so I'm just paraphrasing both of them. Yeah, let me add this.
Yeah, I think I would like to understand what the concern is. I don't know what the security concern is with that. I guess I'm not picking up on that.
Yeah, about including tag to digest capability. With or without the force, like as described above. Steve, recommending we not include this capability at all for RC1. Could you point out the threat model here if we ship with this capability here? Okay. Yeah, I think there was a separate discussion going on, David. I don't know how to get your discussion on this topic. there's a separate discussion going on here, but let's park this and go back here for a second. So that's the only
Alright.
thing you think is concerning that we need to resolve. Everything else is golden, right? What do you think? I'm letting you eyeball this data to see if there's anything in here you think which is not in that spreadsheet.
Yeah, that was the main one that I saw.
Okay, if that was the main one, and then we didn't see anything in alpha 3 either. Okay, so let's do this. You and I can walk down the spreadsheet quickly here and probably end early on this one. We already requested one item from Milind and one item from Roy to help with these two open.
So I also am seeing, I mean, the RC1 signature format will close it when the PR is merged. So are we still waiting on something for the release candidate signature format?
Let me go back there. Alpha 3. Yeah, I think all the specs are not approved, right? There was with the verification plugin there. My understanding is not all the specs are merged. Let me ask Pritesh and Milan on actually. Let me ask this. Hang on. I'll ask them. Yes, my understanding is the final spec is not merged yet. I'm asking, where is that?
Signature specification 102 is merged.
Let's see.
There's another issue, release candidate signature format that you link to in the Notary project.
Yeah, 158 was the one. Opening it right now. Oh, this one is merged. My bad. If this is merged, then we can close it. If you guys are okay with the above merged.
Yeah, I'm fine with closing it.
With closing it.
Yeah.
Discussed in the NV2 meeting on 6/23 with David, Roy. It's me. Actually, I should put. I'm learning my way around David. Roy, do we have you here? What's your GitHub alias, Roy?
I thought it was you
Uh,
want GitHub, or you want the
GitHub, so I can.
the GitHub alias I use is Roy Will.
Roy Will. WELL?
Yep.
Okay.
WILL. Roy, ROYWILL.
My bad.
No.
Okay, close issue. And thank you, David, for pointing that out. I lost track of that one. I think that brings us back to what you were saying in your message was, let's start tracking it in the project tab. And I'm all for it. I'm saying let's in parallel add all of the stuff in this and let's start tracking it there. I'm all for it.
Yeah, I just think it might be maybe where you and I have a separate meeting where I can kind of get you hopefully more comfortable with the transition so that you don't feel like you're losing anything. But if we just keep putting everything everywhere, it's just going to keep the problem kind of going,
Yeah, I don't disagree. So here's one thing we can do. Once you put things in GitHub, and then you and I can sit down for whatever amount it takes for me to be convinced that everything from the spreadsheet has been captured in GitHub, and I can communicate it to the implementer saying, hey, here's how you track your item going forward. So yeah, one doesn't stop the other. So if you are migrating it, complete your migration, and then once it's complete, you and I can sit down.
Okay.
That sounds fair to me. Yeah. Okay, so we close that. This one is open. These all are work in progress. We move this here. Yep. Anything else? Actually, yeah, the other thing was I wanted to walk down the spreadsheet and see if you have an update on anything or give an update. So I just give you an update on where verification extensibility is. and I'll drive Milind to bring it to you guys sooner. But he said 6:27 is the earliest he can bring it. So I put the date versus calling it work in progress. I got a date out of him on this one. Yeah, on this one, I think, David, what about you and I take a stab at it and suggest something? And this is still open. This is just saying which are the, because end-to-end testing and CLI testing will be done with the flags that we decide to support. That's where I think the spec has to be agreed on before we sign off on the implementation of the CLI commands.
Yeah, I think that's, I mean, that's one of the things that we need to do, and that's where the local testing thing comes, the local unencrypted cert thing comes into play also, because the plugins, right? You know, like for our Azure Notation Key Vault plugin, like I would expect that we would test that in our repo for the plugin, not in the central notation repo. So then becomes the challenge of, if, let's say, we also decided to remove the unencrypted local signing support, how would you then test the basic functionality of notation without that there? Do you understand my point?
Yeah, I do, and I don't understand how testing works. Or is there?
Well, it's just imagine that. I mean,
Yeah.
the GitHub runner is pulling down, installing whatever, you're building the binary and then executing things. You know, if your actual signing workflow requires a plugin, now you're testing an AWS or an Azure plugin via, which is not part of that repo, in a central way, which is, I don't think, the right thing to do. And then you're left with, well, what are the local commands I can execute, you know, to do the core functionality of notation? And if you remove notation sign with local key, then what are you going to test? I mean, notation version, you know, notation plugin, you know, like what's the test flow look like? And that's I think the thing we're trying to wrestle with right now a little bit.
Samir, I've updated the roadmap 31 with text for you.
Yeah, no, I think that's good. So let's actually go and do a call out for, because I defer these items to the SMEs, and Milind works with those SMEs. So let me call out Milind's name on it as well, saying, if this functionality is removed, let's see, one, then doing automated testing. Testing will require similar approach.
I think the problem we get into with a lot of these things is if we want validation to be on Notary as a verb or command, then we think we have to give them the tool to generate it. And that may be a changing surface as we move towards standardization of signing.
That's fair. David, you had said that you brought up Sigstore, and I think somebody else had brought up this problem exists in other open source tools out there if they want to stay platform independent. Is there a link to how others have approached the warning, so I can have a visual on how others are communicating it? Other open source communities are communicating people when they use to users when they are using local keys. Is there? Can you point me to any?
I don't know any off the top of my head.
Okay.
So the issue here is either you use the PKS libraries to allow you to encrypt and send around private keys, or in the case of Windows, you assume that's already in the certificate store, and they use the normal CAPI layers to say, hey, you don't need to know what the key is. We're just referencing it in the crypto operations as a standalone step. And
Yep.
that's where it becomes there's a Windows only solution. What is the Linux solution? I think what we settled on here is to say, hey, no, we need to support the raw PKCS encrypted portable key. And that's an interesting place to go, because if you support it out of the certificate store solution with Windows, it doesn't matter if it's HSM or not. We kind of completely sidestep the whole discussion. There's no password prompt that has to come up. There's nothing.
Got it. I see what you're saying. I think you explained it to me in terms I could relate much better, which were that we are aiming for a platform agnostic notation client. And that's why we're running into these challenges. If we were releasing platform specific notation clients, and maybe that's an area to consider for a release beyond RC1.
Yeah, exactly. Which is, I'm fine if we pick one of these 4.
Yeah.
Just the first 2 is that we're going to have to, or the second one is we're going to have to spin up resources real quick.
Yeah. No, this is fair. I think this is something I need to drive and close and get consensus on. My bad on that. Okay, let's see. This work is going on. I did a fact check on it yesterday. This is still in progress. I think I believe Rakesh and Shive are discussing internally about the dependency they have and trying to resolve it offline, so we don't have to get in there. But that work is going on. I'm assuming Shive will fix this bug the right way versus the workaround at some point. I don't know if this PR got closed. Let me see if this PR got closed or not. Actually, let me work with others and mark it. If this PR is closed, then this item should be closed.
So I know we were aiming for the mid part of June, which I know we slipped on. Do we have how much of a slip we're still looking at for RC1?
I think that's the same question Yi and I and Feynman looked at on Monday. And what we concluded was, if we believe these dates as the good start dates and these to be a good estimates, then we are looking at least beyond the first week of July for these items to complete. In the past, these start dates have not hold true for every item. And then these estimates have gone longer because of PR approval taking longer. But we have addressed both of those 2 things lately. Number one, PRs are getting approved much faster now, thanks to the approach we have taken. And with scrutiny on who has the action item, I believe these dates won't slip much. So my answer to your question is, from where I look at the roadmap and these things here, I am looking a couple of weeks beyond 4th of July. I'm just thinking aloud here. I don't have exact data to back it up, but looking at these dates, start dates, and the estimated effort we have put in there, and these others which don't have a date on this one, which still are work which we need to do, like doc sample release. Roy, I don't want to give a date on the call, but
No. So
I think the data is here to conclude where we are.
It's just at some point we're going to have to realize the pushback of, if we slip much more longer, we'll probably have to reevaluate the cozy discussion.
Yeah, no, I agree on that one.
Which is why I'd rather not slip if we can, just so we don't perturb.
So yeah, I'm with you, Roy. I think maybe you and I we had a longer chat just amongst us for the work that's on Shuei's team. Maybe you and I can chat separately there.
Yeah, it's just that we are running into, the longer we slip, the harder this is going to be to not reevaluate.
I agree with that, but here's where I'm looking at the longest items out, and then looking at the estimated effort, saying like the data is here to drive our own conclusion and past experiences.
Yeah, I'm just raising. We talked about this when we decide not to take cozy in. And
Yeah.
if we slip too much, we would have to reevaluate. And
Yep.
I'm holding us true to our statement of we may have to reevaluate.
Rightfully so. Yeah, rightfully so. That's a good discussion to have. So how about on Monday when we get more data and some of these PRs are closed and we have more green line here, we look at that. But if we bring in cozy into RC1, that may open up Pandora box as well, which I don't understand fully at the moment.
Yeah. So like I said, if we want to sidestep the discussion, we better be crisp.
Yeah,
at one
yeah,
date. And
yeah.
now we're going to have to really say, hey, at what point do we tip and have to reevaluate this?
That sounds good. So David, I like your idea. If you can work independently with Shiva and get a confidence vote from him, will these dates hold true and these estimates hold true? And if we assume these dates and estimates to hold true, that looks like by 4th of July, these long pending items should finish. That's what I'm looking here. If I just look at this data.
I mean, Shuei himself is out mid-July for a week. But I think mid to end of July is kind of the ballpark we're shooting for based on what we have there.
Okay.
But I would love to really get more granular in terms of like even having, you know, maybe sprints or things. So we can kind of have a little more accountability other than just this kind of method. So that way we kind of keep things on track, perhaps.
Yeah.
On both sides of the house.
Correct. Yeah, you can be the Scrum Master working with Shiva, and I can be the Scrum Master working with Milind on this one, and saying, "Hey guys, this is not holding true to the dates we communicated." So, yeah, I think that sounds fair. Okay. Last thing I wanted to discuss here was Yi and I were looking at this item on Monday, David, and this integration test, I think he has marked for Shiva's team, which is good as to what kind of integration test. And we agreed at least this one integration test, which has to be there. We don't have a start date on it. So if you're talking to him, if you can get a start date on this one. I spoke to Milind about this one yesterday, and we said, you know, this was a catch-all item for bug fix, code cleanup. Like, his point was this should not be either, this should be both, and everybody should be doing it as we are going along. And this may not be an independent item by itself if everybody is following all the best practices along the way. Yes, there could be an end of effort scrutiny at code cleanup and any other issues we find, but he thought instead of calling it either, which leaves it not in the no man's land, what if we call it both? Or just say Milind and Shiva?
That's fine. Just leave it as both.
Okay. Okay.
Just also be aware that as we meet closer and closer to RC1, our appetite for code cleanup should drop.
Agree. Yeah, I think this I like this refactoring was needed so that we have CLI and Go libraries decoupled, but this should be the last big refactoring we do on this project. On these other two, I don't know, David, if Yi and Feeman reached out to you, but I said I don't understand all the process involved, and if you, with your past experience, can help with these items on the license notice to include, and does it go in every code file or does it go in a central place? I just don't understand that world quite well.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
For these two items, we put your name along with their name.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the main, so I think the main thing is, obviously we have to allocate some time for docs, and I think, you know, that bug fixes, code cleanup, other quality, I think it's a general bucket for issues, other things that come up that we haven't planned for, just so that we have some time for that.
Correct. And two things which we moved out, which were somehow lying here, we moved out these two things on Monday. I don't know if they spoke to you about it or not. One was external security review, cozy signature format. It was listed in RC1 release, and they pointed out to me saying, hey, this doesn't have a dependency here. Why is it lying in the RC1 release as a must-have for RC1 release to ship? On that call, I said, okay, let's move it, but we can discuss it with you guys. So not sure if they had a discussion with you on this.
So the
Yeah,
interest,
the thing that I would like to know is more realistically, like, what out of the effort that we're putting in right for the next month here is potentially just not going to get used. Meaning, like, assuming we have the kind of production cosign implementation, what are we gonna what's going to be throwaway effectively, right? You know what I mean?
When you say production cosign implementation, can you elaborate on that?
Well, just I think we,
I think I can
the-
give you an example here. Investing
Yeah.
in any more Josie tooling
Okay. Okay.
might be throwaway issues if we know we're going to go to cozy, right? So
Right.
using that as an example, are there other things that we should be cautious about?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
because it might also help us to slim down what we deliver for RC1 as well, right?
Got it.
Because we might be like, well, gosh, you know what? Knowing that the long-term path is going to be cozy, maybe we can go lighter on this or that aspect of the work we have left for the rest of this month, maybe to help kind of accelerate us with RC1.
Yeah. So my understanding was and is that once cozy is available, it doesn't deprecate JWS or support. JWS signature format can be used as well, and the verification will support. So one can sign with either JWS or cozy, and in the verification, depending on which signature format it is, it can be tested. And the way the specs I have read, my understanding is there's no throwaway work for what is done for JWS. Now, if you're thinking that the effort going into the JWS can go towards a cozy effort, that's a good thought. We can have that discussion because we are behind some on these dates.
I think that's the thrust of 31, which is, do we invest in something we know that is going to be deprecated because it's not our primary one ultimately, and two, it doesn't allow third parties to come up with a different signing solution. That's the sort of bar that I think David's trying to push us towards.
Yeah. I personally don't think so. There's any throwaway work based on what I described, like that the JWS people can still sign with JWS, and the signature verification will support both JWS and cozy. So I don't see any throwaway work that customers will have or users will face. But from a developer point of view, I agree with you. Maybe it's time to rethink that, and I can have that discussion. But from where we are, I think we are there already in terms of what I look at the spreadsheet.
The other one is 12 is the one we're going to close down. The interesting question with the thing you outlined is, so go back down to the bottom.
Yeah.
The question is, should we still pull that in RC1 saying, hey, the security review is done, so that when we do post RC1, it's now available? By pushing it out, we basically are saying, hey, we're not signaling our move to, so that, it does not costing us much to have it either post or pre, and it's just a question of a political statement.
Yes, I agree with that. So that political statement is not, so that's the one thing me and Payman were missing. They were asking me, Samir, is there any dependency on RC1 on this one? I said, no, it is not dependent on it. So on that day, on Monday, we said, okay, let's just move it below the line. So it reduces the amount of effort which you see here available for RC1. I hear what you're saying, Roy, that it's independent, so we can even pull it above the line here.
Yeah, and the only concern I have is if we don't have it there, where the SIG store will say, hey, we're just going to support Josie, Cozy, and DSSE in eat our lunch. And the question is, at what point do we get them to turn the Josie one off if we want to focus on Cozy only? Like, if we don't message strongly that where we're going, that's my concern. I agree with it. There's no dependencies. It's just a question of vision and
and also, like, if we're, it's on the public README for for cosign in the article of saying that JWS is not a secure format and all that, which is like, I guess I would, if you're saying no, we want to continue to support this, then in my mind, we need to at least justify why we believe this is a valid, secure, production ready encryption mechanism.
Yes, and we have the data. I think it's yes. So JWS is a secure format. Again, I'm not a crypto expert for me to say this, but what I've heard Milind describe in prior meetings here is there's nothing in the standard which makes it insecure. It is the implementation of the standard that people can get it wrong, but we are implementing it together, so we are not going to get it wrong, is the way I'm paraphrasing it. And I'm going to caveat it saying, I'm not a crypto expert, and we'll need somebody else like Milind to describe it. But we don't see a security concern there with the path we are on. So leave it for others to think outside of the notary community how they think about it. But
An RC1 release.
Yeah, in RC1 release, we think there's no security concern with the JWS format.
Yep. And here's why. And here, give the know.
Yep, and I think that's a good thing we should have in the release notes. Yes, that's fair. That's fair. I will bring it up with Milind here internally pretty soon, and making sure we have that statement. And that's where I think the the internal security reviewers we are working with, or the crypto bar raisers come in, and yes, this helps. Last one was this thing which we moved below the line, was putting signature in manifest. I think this was discussed already, so we moved this below the line. Those were the changes we made on Monday together in this meeting.
And that was an optimization for network bandwidth and so forth.
Yep.
The real question is, do we put out a technical bulletin that says this is what our long-term vision is to message how we think we're going to move forward, or do we just keep it as an implementation tool for the future?
Is this? Am I sensing a PR here, Roy? Like something that we state out?
It's a question for David and you guys as to whether, hey, because I know we had some feedback when we were talking about SCIT for the ITF. There's a whole bunch of microjoule concern about how to save energy costs and making round trips and blah, blah, blah. And at least indicating that we're thinking about it may not be a bad publicity statement. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I hear you. So maybe, David, we go back to what we were talking about earlier, that when we release, here's JWS, JWT, RC1 signature scheme is solid. And by the way, here's the next one we are thinking after it. And here's the reason for us going to this next one after this. So that's a better statement reflecting. And again, it will be that there's no customer impact, there's no user impact. Like, users can sign with one or the other. The verification will continue supporting both. So life is like no customer impact or no user impact.
And it may spur some active co-development in a number of areas where people are going, hey, we'll help you with this, which is why the other plus here.
Yep. So that's just messaging to think about this release. Yeah, and I will probably like to, based on these dates, I will probably like to keep it first week of July to get this all done. And if Shiva is on vacation starting say middle of July, then I like to finish it before he goes on vacation, is where I like this RC1 to be available.
Well, 64 will finish without Shiva.
Okay, no, that's good. But I'm saying everything else on the spreadsheet as well. Like everything else, I like RC1 to be available before, somebody as important as Shiva's vacation hits. Yeah.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, sounds good. I think that's a good discussion on level setting where we are. Okay, so I'll drive that discussion internally, and on Monday be prepared to have a decision on this item, and then on the image digest, and then
I think this is a case where you got to take everybody who's trying to drive to RC1 to take a look up and say, hey, don't use the lens of shipping, use the lens of messaging. whether
Yeah.
we should get some of this stuff done. That's all.
That's fair.
And I think you find most of the engineers will go, okay, I get that. It's when they go, hey, you're committing extra resources to RC1 that they usually kind of go, well, we can do without it. And they wholly sidestep the industry.
Got it.
All-
No, that's fair. And if I were to come back to this, like, is there more information which has been published on this one, the security review? I think we talking about last time
So-
we talked about this. It was not ready to be publicly shared. Are we ready to publicly share the security reviews?
So NCC's is already on the repo, Go Cozy repo. So they checked it in to the, so it's available. The Trail of Bits, they gave us an intermediate one yesterday and they filed one bug, but it kind of referenced the report, which we didn't make public, which was a no-no. So I have to go and get Kim or somebody to update it with what the issue was. And they gave me another interim low issue yesterday that I asked them to file the bug against.
Okay.
So it's all in the public. The goal is to try and get the NCC report in a week or two and put it out in the report section just as well.
Okay. And where is that at? If I were to go to Go Cozy
So-
repo?
So in the Verizon Go Cozy, it's not spelled that way. It's
Can you send me a link?
it's a French. Just type Go dash Cozy.
Okay, Go dash Cozy. I'm just gonna type it here. Go dash Cozy.
Yeah.
Examples.
No, just hit enter there and see what it comes up with.
Okay.
So it's not the Mozilla one. So the Mozilla one will point you now at the ARM GitHub one. So put GitHub on the end of that.
Is this public report Go Cozy NCC group?
Yeah, let's see that. Yeah, go there. That's their public statement. So go click on it. Yeah. They
Okay.
also checked it into the Go Cozy repo.
Okay. Oh, this is just like more like a press release kind of a thing.
Yeah, but they supplied the whole report.
Ah, got it.
Right?
So that's one area. Okay.
Yeah.
And
And so we had them added, and the Trail of Bits is still work in progress. They're still investigating.
where is, let me find the link to that.
So it's type space GitHub on the top there, and we'll give you that.
GitHub. Oh, this one, Mozilla. No, this is Mozilla. We don't have to go there.
Yeah, it'll have a forward redirector to.
Oh, this one then. Package.go, Go Cozy.
Yep, that's it. Go to that one.
Okay, and here, where is the activity which says this activity is going on?
This is the discovery package. This is not GitHub. That's not the source code.
Oh, damn it. Okay, so what?
Yeah. So just hang on here. I will find it for you.
Okay, thanks. Cozy library for you. Maybe this is where GitHub is. No. So you are thinking all of this will be done by the end of the month, huh? That's where your head.
It'll be done in the next week or so. Yeah.
Okay. This is good. This, I think the whole community benefits from this. So thank you for championing this.
You're welcome. And we're starting to see people pick it up. So that's kind of. Here you go. Copy that.
Lights up a lot of interesting scenarios and things you can't do with JWS. I'm sure Roy could elaborate more, but we don't have to do that on the call.
Agreed. Okay, you put this in the chat.
Yeah.
Okay, let me find the chat. Yeah, I'll put a link to that there. Okay, so my action items are work with Willin on those two things we took for image digest and what to do for the first release regarding local key signing. And David,
I think it warrants the discussion of whether we can cut the feature and make do with.
Correct, because it will affect testing, which I wasn't thinking about the testing. I was fine, shipping without it, but I think the testing has given me a perspective I didn't have earlier.
Correct, especially if we turn around and say, hey, we're going to move this to Cozy in RC2. what the hell?
Right. Well, when we go to Cozy in RC2, we will, how's that related to local signing or
the
local
local,
signing key encrypted or not? Because that doesn't
the
impact
local,
that.
the local signing, it's using the certificate. You still have to generate a document. So you're going to use something that use Josie and then turn around and say, okay, then the format of what we're generating for local signing will be Cozy. And it's like, okay, so why the hell did we spend time generating the Josie version? That's what basically we're saying. Hey, that's a lot.
In terms of, I think to maybe rephrase Roy's concern is like, if we actually were to try and put the effort to encrypt local with Josie, and then have to do all the work again to do it with Cozy.
So I have a disconnect with that, David. Sorry to jump in there. I have a disconnect. We are talking about encrypting the key. The key encryption will have no effect on the signature encoding format. And that's the part I'm missing as to why will key encryption.
So no, there's twofold here. One is, you need to have a library in Go that talks to PKCS.
Yeah.
10, I think is what we're talking about here, which will then prompt a dialog box that we then have to go and test to make sure that nobody can copy out of it and it's password encrypted and to enter your password so you can use the local store.
Yep.
If you turn around, then once you use that to sign, you have to write the output in Josie. And so writing all that code in there and say, hey, we make a dependency, and then turn around the next version and say, hey, now we're going to take the Josie part of that off and now do Cozy and retest it all again. We just threw away all the work we did for testing the Josie local signing capability.
Oh, okay. The testing effort. Okay, I see on the testing effort. Okay. Not the implementation effort. But
we basically have enough building blocks to write the Josie files locally, but it's testing and development time to go do all this stuff.
Okay. All right, sounds good. Thanks. I think we're almost at the top of the hour on this one. I'll add these links to that spreadsheet. And David, so yeah, as soon as you're done with migration, I can sit down with you and walk through it, and then we can deprecate the spreadsheet going forward.
Yeah. So your statement, by the way, of, hey, since we do the usage of generation of Josie, becomes interesting if third parties want to sign as well. In which case, then they're trying to open the door of saying, hey, we're going to do our own stuff, which then means it's out of our control.
No, but JWS is a supported signature format in RC1, so it's in our control. I don't get it.
Correct, but David's point is we publicly say there's issues with Josie.
And that, so yeah, so let's have a different conversation on that one. I haven't identified any issues with Cozy signature format, so if you have a concern, we can discuss it.
Well, that's fine. Maybe we need to take it off the list.
Yeah.
The question here is, we're going to get pushback for third parties to be able to sign using their infrastructure and their tooling, in which case we don't necessarily, all we're going to be relegated to is a verification path anyway.
Okay.
And if our argument is that this is the wrong direction and we need the flexibility of Josie going forward, all these people going and investing time and effort to do this work, they may not want to revisit and say, hey, well, Notary will have to support Josie forevermore, because we didn't make the statement that this is only a transitory situation. I think that's the guts of the problem.
Yeah. I personally don't see it as transitory. I see it as multiple signature formats, which will tell the community, the standard is flexible to have different encoding formats as long as they meet the bar. So I see it in a positive way, not in a transitory way. But yes.
Yeah, the downside is if we try to move to something like DID going forward, and Josie doesn't have that support, we're basically going to cause a fragmentation of the market. What we're trying to do is pick a format that allowed us to move forward without any roadblocks.
Okay.
That's the guts of it. I think of it is the issue.
Okay. Yeah. Let me chew on that one. I think this is some new information you've brought for me to think about it in that frame of mind.
There is a third one you have to think about, which is if the secure supply chain effort succeeds and it's Cozy based, then having the Notary layer being Josie based will be out of sync with each other.
Okay. All right. Then we'll see you then. I think we are at the top of the hour.
Yep.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.